Alright, might as well get it started. Alright. Wipe this down. All right, let's get the show on the road. Last weekend, oh boy, like once again, I'm too late with this video. Dog VA, one of my favorite YouTubers, was reading fucked up chats about Ironmouse, because Ironmouse and Kaisenat had a friendly competition on who gets the most subs record on Twitch, and he was reading up the chats on Kaisenat's stream.
Here is a 85-page document. Now you're telling me this bitch-ass VTuber surpassed Kai Cenat. God, you know these people are so ugly. Just sad how Sims donate to this crap. This is the bitch that broke Kai's record. I refuse to believe any of you are real human beings. Unless you have less than 60 IQ, no one in this chat is real. I've been watching this shit for 10 minutes and I want to kill myself. How do people watch this shit, you weirdos? You'll never get on Kai's level. You guys know this is a fat guy, right? This is psychotic. This is f***ed up. How is this okay?
And yeah, it is psychotic. Like, God, jeez, it's the usual anime is cringe hate taken to another level. It's absolutely insane. Because the common stigma with VTubers is that it's some fat dude with a voice changer behind it. The thing is, VTubing is a fairly new medium, but the DNA does go fair way back. In music, for instance, there were gorillas. They're fictional characters played by real musicians. Peter Gabriel also had a fictional character. He put up a persona. David Bowie also had that with like Ziggy Stardust and all that. But that then goes even further back. You know, you can go into the history of theater and see various examples. But of course, in the modern day, in contemporary times, the closest equivalent is pro wrestling. So this video is about how VTubing and pro wrestling share more or less the same DNA. They are both entertainment media that involve theatrical presentation and the development of personas. And there seems to be a thin barrier between reality and fantasy in both of them. And both garner different reactions from people. Some of them do get it, and some of them, they don't just disbelieve, they get mad. It's weird. So let's get into some of the similarities between VTubing and pro wrestling. For instance, both are pretty technical when you really get down to it. VTubing is technological theater. That's what it is. You have a rigged model, a virtual model of your persona. It's kind of like, you know, being a furry. You know, you get a fursuit, and if you're a VTuber, you get a 3D model or maybe a PNG model, and it's rigged to be animated with facial detection on your webcam and all that. Like, there's both hardware and software for it. If you want to get really, really elaborate, you go with what Code Miko is doing, or, you know, someone like Ironmouse pay someone to create a rigged model for them. Cost thousands of dollars to design, animate, made viable for VTubing.
But I'll tell you, I have a model that the art costs $10K, and then the rigging.
Holy shit!
And even if their real faces are not on camera, their real physical selves are not on camera, although some VTubers end up revealing their flesh tuber selves. Although a lot of them do still keep masks on. They don't have face reveals for security reasons. Even if they're not physically on camera, they're on with their virtual selves, they still have to talk and perform for hours on end for like, what, 4 or 5 times a week? Streaming on its own takes hours at a time, and that's why I don't stream, because I tried streaming in the past and holy crap, it's tiring. Ugh. Pro wrestling commentary already wears me out, and that's only like what, 3 hours max? Well, at least with our shows right now. I can't imagine 4 to 8 hours a day, every day. And mind you, pro wrestling kind of has a similar schedule. Like those WWE wrestlers, for instance, they have to drive to their next destination. They have to drive there in American roads. Long American roads. And they're having shows like 250 to 300 days a year? crazy. And pro wrestling is a multifaceted discipline. It's not just about, being big and strong. It's not just about being quick and agile. It's also about having charisma, having the look, being able to walk the talk, being able to talk. You gotta have all of it combined. You gotta have the physiology, you gotta have the psychology, and you gotta have the specific pro wrestling skills. So you gotta have all of those combined to have the full package. And a lot of pro wrestlers, even though they're really good, they don't have the total package that some of others, the most elite, the most top tier of talents. And there are plenty of those who are in the indie scene and the international scene who do have all the qualities. They're just looking for their break. And a lot of VTubers are also, they're grinding so that they can get their break. Both disciplines require insane amounts of work and dedication. People who are only in it for money, they fall off very quickly. Like, I've seen it. They're only in it, not even for the money, just for momentary fame, just for kicks, to live out their fantasies. And once they're bored of it, they just up and leave because the training is too hard. The politics is too hard. People are too mentally weak. They leave with resentment. Same thing with VTubing, it seems. Both fields are strewn with broken hearts. For those people who do stick around, the performers who are still there grinding it out, they're doing it mostly for the love of the craft because, well, to be honest, there are better ways to make money, And whether they're making a living out of it or not, they're doing it for the love of the craft. And then the number two similarity, VTubers have agencies, right? Like Vishojo, Hololive, of course, Niji Sanji, fuck Niji Sanji. Or you could be independent, it is what it is. And the same goes for pro wrestling, you could be exclusive to one promotion like WWE or AEW or New Japan or All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, all those big promotions where you can make a living as a pro wrestler. Or you could be a freelancer working the indie scene, working in the international scene, or you could be working in your local scene, especially even if, pro wrestling isn't that big in your country. You somehow do your best to sustain both your career and your scene. And there's also similarity number 3, and this is where I'm gonna get really wordy. Both skirt that line between reality and fantasy, as I mentioned. Both have what's called kayfabe. So what is kayfabe? For those who don't know anything about pro wrestling, kayfabe is basically Pig Latin for fake. It's basically the term in pro wrestling for more or less what we do. Both VTubers and pro wrestlers have their own characters with their own backstories, personalities, trademarks. VTubing is like anime waifus and husbandos brought to life. And yet they're also a simulation of waifus and husbandos. Think about it. They're kind of the thing, but they're not really the same thing. You can still put them on body pillows, but, VTubers, for instance, you could actually interact with them. Well, in chat, sure, but you can interact with them. Or you can have one of them feature one of your videos on their stream, like me. Meanwhile, pro wrestling is a simulation as well. It is a simulation of combat sport, and combat sport is a simulation of real fighting. So it's 2 layers of simulation. And then over the years, over its history, it morphs into its own thing with its own rules, its own look and feel, its own tropes. I talked about this in a blog post I wrote around last year. It's called Kayfabe in Politics and Media Manipulation. So with pro wrestling, it goes from real fighting to sanctioned fighting to theatrical fighting, and then it morphs into its own thing, pro wrestling as simulacra. So what is it for VTubing? I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe those who are more familiar with VTubing may have something to it. From 3D waifus, well, real people. And then you have the simulation of real people, 2D characters on anime or manga, 2D waifus. What's the simulation of that? The cosplay of that 2D character? Maybe. Adjacent to cosplay, you have VTubing, which is kind of like cosplay cosplaying a fictional 2D waifu, like a 2D waifu that is not real, not meaning to say it's not found in any other medium like anime or manga. It's an original character simulating fictional characters, okay, and then you then go to like third, fourth layer of simulation and the cosplay of that VTuber. How deep does this go? I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to get it, all right, and I kind of get it, but you know, like I'm 38 years old, all right. I'm getting old, you know. I'm trying to keep up with this shit. Okay, this is my mother's bed. This broke. This bed is like well over 35 years old. So, of course, the plywood is starting to come off. This was put on in nails. I'm gonna have to take this off. So, whoever made this, his name was Alan. Alan, your workmanship is shit. And I'm gonna take it to the workshop, which is a mess right now. Alright, I'm gonna fix this, but reorganization on the way. So, I have like 3-4 things going on here at once. But there are some people who they don't just not get it. They refuse to get it. And this is where the problems really come up. It's like they hide behind what they perceive as the truth. I'm just trying to be real, you know? This shit is fake, right? And you realize they're talking about like surface level facts, you know, just the tip of the iceberg. They yell that pro wrestling is fake fighting, right? It's just fake fighting. Even though it's been an open secret for decades, since like what? The 40s, the 50s? Like everyone knew it. It was scripted, it's work, as we would call it. It's work. It's not really fake, like people get hurt. Have you heard of CTE? In the meantime, VTubing, you know, they yell, that person is pretending to be a cartoon character and they have a voice changer, and you know that's actually some fat dude behind that, right? Just trying to make money or get off their kinks or whatever, and so on and so forth. It gets kind of frustrating having to try to convince them that it's an actual art form. It's its own thing and it's actually pretty cool. After a while, you just get sick and tired of dealing with it. I saw a short by Mike Quackenbush, former pro wrestler, founder of Chikara. He was pretty damn good during his time, and he now has a YouTube channel where he talks about pro wrestling and tries to guide people into being able to better appreciate the art form.
A member of my family told me to my face, I make a dishonest living because what I do is fake. These are real objections people have, and you and I know that almost every single one of these is rooted in some ignorance. And the best thing you can do is shine a bright, illuminating light by bringing some education and some rationale to the conversation, but that will never be enough. You're also going to have to deploy some empathy when having this conversation. You're going to need to try to see their point of view if you want any hope of reversing their opinion.
And he's right that you just have to accept that a lot of people, they're never going to be convinced because they don't want to be convinced. And a lot of it is rooted in some form of ignorance. And you could try your best to put a light on it. In the end, if they don't want to be convinced, they're never going to be convinced. Like, for instance, my brother is one of them. This year has been a challenge for me because a lot of it is dealing with my brother, especially when our mother was recovering from her accident earlier this year. And just having to deal with that guy. Like, for instance, we were in the hospital. Our former promotion, Manila Wrestling Federation, was on TV every Monday at around 9-10 p.m. on Rock Manila TV. We were on TV! Like, this is mind-blowing. We were on TV. We were able to get on local television every week. It was a pretty big victory for us. And here's my brother and I, we're together in our mother's hospital room, and here comes an episode of our wrestling show. We're sitting there, a pre-tape segment comes up with Jake De Leon on it, and he goes, di ba, acting lang yan, di ba? Well, for one thing, first of all, acting lang? As if acting is actually easy? Are you kidding me? Second, this is our work, and your first thought is shitting on it. On the other hand, my cousin, when he heard about me being in Pinoy wrestling, he was so excited about it. He actually searched me up on Facebook, on Google, and saw where I was announcing. Although most of what he found was my work in World Underground Wrestling Philippines. But he was excited about it. My brother, on the other hand, my own brother, has to be a douche nozzle about it. I'm not going to cut that out because fuck that guy. Anyway, lastly, he also happens to be a fan of a certain political affiliation here in the Philippines. Let's put it that way. Thus explains the rudeness, you know, like their ilk. They're kind of known for that. And also, because of that, maybe he's not truly aware of what is real and what is fake, because he can't even distinguish it in politics. You know, just saying. Anyway, you know, a lot of times when money is involved in the discussion, then maybe some people change their tune. Some people even kind of like, oh, you can make money with that? Okay. And maybe some of them even find another justification to hate on it. It doesn't matter, it's still fake. You're earning money from fooling other people that is real fighting, even though it is fake. Everyone knows it's fake. Why are you still trying to fool people? One of the revelations I had this year is that the thing about jealousy. How do you know someone's jealous? They think they're right. That's it. That's the root cause of it. Because they think they're right. Jealous people don't think they're jealous. They think they're right. That's like that's the rim of the funnel towards evil, you know, going downward towards evil. At the very rim of that funnel, jealousy. A lot of it boils down to jealousy and maybe even greed. Greed is a little right below the lip of that funnel, but the rim, definitely jealousy. Having something that you're passionate about, having something that gets you up in the morning, and some people can't stand it. Try to justify it by saying that thing's lame. Then again, you know, like they want to be up in arms about pro wrestling being fake, about VTubing being fake, you know, VTubers being fake. And yet, you know, we also have people in the world who think that the world is flat. Is there any other discussion? Well, maybe you're one of those flat earthers. Okay, let's have a discussion. Or maybe not. You're really tiring to listen to. In the meantime, politicians are stealing our money, keeping us sick. But no! VTubing is dumb and pro wrestling is fake. That's the real conspiracy.
Particularly, it's kind of like I watch all the day-night time. We basically just talk about the every single thing. I don't think we're gonna do.
I'm very sick, bro. My nose is stuffed. Full coward.
Okay, it's been 5-6 hours. That should be good enough, I guess, for now.